Hello, my name is Samuel Rowley, and I am here to present my dissertation defense entitled Information, William Patrick Foster and His Impact on African American Wind Band Conductors. A picture of Dr. Foster. Just to give you a little bit of background of Dr. Foster, he's a 1955 graduate of Teachers College, where he received his doctorate degree in music education. He served as director of bands and chairman of the music department at Florida A&M University from 1946 through 1998. And he also revolutionized contemporary band pageantry with a show style approach, which included high stepping, dance routines, and fast tempos. Some of the significant accomplishments of Dr. Foster: he is a distinguished alumni of all three universities in which he attended. He was the first African American to be inducted into the American Bandmasters Association. He was also the first and still the only African American to serve as president of two of the most renowned professional or college band organizations, which included the Collegiate Band International Association from 1981 through 1983, as well as the American Bandmasters Association from 1994 through 1995. And his band at Florida A&M University became the first recipient from an HBCU to receive the prestigious Summer Award Trophy in 1985. Reason for my interest in this particular study is that I wanted to inform the wind band community of the many contributions of Dr. William Patrick Foster. I wanted to investigate Foster's role in contributing to the HBCU band legacy in our phenomenon. I also wanted to chronicle what formative experiences were key in his development as a wind band conductor. And I also wanted to begin to bridge the gap in the research regarding prominent wind band conductors, in which many conductors of color have gone unmentioned.
I want to narrate the experience of William Foster and examine the impact on African American wind band conductors in their program. I also want to investigate Foster's
influence on current African American wind band conductors. And finally, I want to present new and extant information of the life and legacy of William Patrick Foster. The following two research questions frame my dissertation. Research question 1. What experiences contributed to the early development of William Foster? And research question 2, how is Foster's legacy impacting a young generation of African American wind band conductors? For this particular research, I chose to utilize a qualitative case study design. Here I have the benefits of qualitative research. For this particular qualitative case study, I purposely selected 10 African American wind band conductors who are all former students, colleagues, and contemporaries of Dr. Foster during his tenure as director of bands. All 10 participants participated in a semi-structured interview which took place in 3 cities: Durham, North Carolina, Tallahassee, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia. As a result of the research, the following themes emerged. The participants felt that Foster's intellectual property, racial experiences, his mentors, and professional and family support system were very key in his development as a wind band conductor. As relates to some of the surprise findings that I found, I would like to first talk about his intellectual preparation. Participant Shelby Chipman and Anthony Simon spoke about how Dr. Foster would learn a new word every day, and that contributed to his vast vocabulary. As a former student of family, Foster would open up his dictionary every day, just point to a word, close his eyes and point to a word, and use that word in a sentence every day. That was, and then that actually taught me something, because now I understood why he was so smart and why his vocabulary was so vast. It's because he learned a different word every day. Another surprise for me as relates to Foster's racial experiences. Even though Foster was a very light-skinned African-American, he still experienced tremendous racial restraints. These racial restraints motivated Foster to develop a band that was far superior to his white counterparts. Coming through the family system, band directors would always talk, other African-American band directors would talk and would always say that Dr. Foster achieved what he achieved just because he was a light-skinned African-American who would pass for white. And as I was interviewing the participants and all of his former students who he was very close to, he shared with them on several occasions that he actually experienced the same type of racial injustice that other African Americans were experiencing during that time. And Dr. White in specific talks about when he tried to enroll, or when he tried to register for the cbDNA conference back in 1940, the cbDNA president of the time got wind that there was an African American trying to attend this conference, and he wrote Dr. Foster back a letter saying that African Americans are not allowed to attend this conference. So these racial experiences were driving forces for him. The participants, as well as Dr. Foster, talked about two particular experiences where he auditioned for the University of Kansas band, and he was denied membership into that band because of the color of his skin, as well as his talk with the dean of the University of Kansas band at that time, and how the dean told him that there was no room for African American wind band conductors. And Dr. Foster always said that that was his driving force to wanting to develop a band that was far superior to his white counterparts. So these were very key formative experiences that contributed to his maturation as a wind band conductor. As well as Foster's professional support system, as well as his family support system, was also a very important part as his development. Dr. Foster surrounded himself around competent individuals. Per the participants' responses, Dr. White talked about this, Darren Holloway, as well as Lindsay Sargent talked about how Dr. White would surround himself around well-competent musicians of the time and well-competent teachers who could teach his students in the way that he wanted. And this professional support system was also very important in his development because his support team contributed to the overall artistic vision of the family band. As well as his personal support system, they talk about his wife. His wife, Ann Foster, was that person who was there for him. And for me, that was a surprise because a lot of times, you hear the story about these great band directors and these great teachers, but you don't really hear the story about the women or the family members who supported them. So I really felt that it was, so for me, it was really a surprise that every single participant spoke about his wife being a major part in his development during his formative years as a wind band conductor. And from that support, he continued to grow. And they continued to grow together until her death in 2006. As a result of the interviews, the participants felt that Foster's professional identity, character, influence, and creative revolution were important factors that explain his impact on the new generation of African American wind band conductors. As it relates to some of these surprise findings, is that the creative revolution of the band. I would like to really focus on that thing. Before I went into this dissertation study, I thought that his impact was only on African American wind band conductors in their programs. However, the impact of Foster actually crossed racial lines. Several of the participants spoke about how during the 1950s and during the 1960s, the University of Southern California band was huge fans of the Marching 100, and often imitated a lot of things that they did within the show concept. And we're talking about in the 1950s and in the 1960s, a time during the Jim Crow era. Even though the family band was in the South and the University of Southern California band was out west, and the Jim Crow laws really did not exist out west, but for that time, for a white band to be influenced by a black band, that was really remarkable. And the overall influence of the family band began to cross over the cultural lines and racial lines, and it led to the family band being the most imitated band in the country. So in our current day, you would find, Dr. Foster being very much influenced by the University of Michigan band under Rowley, and he used them as his big brother. But now, 60 years later, if you look at the University of Michigan band, they are starting to imitate a lot of things that the FAMU band is doing. Whenever you turn on your TV and whenever you see a white band playing things like Talking Out the Side of Your Neck, which is the LSU band, those influences came directly from Dr. Foster in the family band. So that was a surprise finding to me, and I actually recommended that for further for recommendations for further research, is that to just examine what was the impact that Foster not only had on African American band conductors, but what was the impact that he also had on white band conductors in their programs as well. The conclusions. Foster's educational experiences did contribute to his career development. Several negative racial experiences helped shape Foster as an educator and innovator, and Foster's professional and personal support system were important pieces of his development as a band director, and the creative impact of the family band continues to serve as a model of excellence for both HBCU and PWU band programs across the country. Recommendations for further research. I would like for other researchers who plan to duplicate this study is to conduct a similar study by interviewing earlier colleagues of Foster, such as Leonard C. Bowie, Sammy Floyd, and James Latimer, and Emory Fears, in order to get more informative experiences that contributed to his development. Further the study by examining Foster's impact on white band conductors and their programs, and conduct a similar study highlighting the lives and musical careers of other African American wind band conductors. And that's an excellent transition on to the next step in my career and what I would like to do. For my postdoctoral studies, which I will start very soon, my postdoctoral studies is going to really be focused on presenting research highlighting the contributions of other conductors of color like Alton Adams, who I mentioned in my literature review, James Reese Europe, Emory Fears, and Dr. Julie White. And what I'm currently working on now is sort of a band pageantry book for band programs, but it's not going to really be consolidated to just the marching band. I really would like to have a guide for young band directors and novice wind band conductors of how to build the total band program as relates to your marching band as well as your symphonic band. And I plan on publishing this work entitled Methods and Strategies to Building the total band program, in which I will have completed the spring of 2014, no later than the fall of 2014. That's all for my presentation. Questions?